right? So we don't need to. I mean, there's already research being done. There's the development that happened during post-conflict era didn't really benefit the poor much. We see projects like Uturu Vasantaya, Nagahira Navodaya, which constructed roads in northern province, and then there was certain so-called development happened there. But what evidence suggests is that development didn't really translate into something that is beneficial for the people in the northern and eastern provinces. Because I'm specifically mentioning these two provinces because this is where majority of the Tamil population lives. So what my research really adds into the academic work is that there has been research done in the past about ethnic pay gap. As you can see, the difference was that these research did not include the data from the northern and eastern provinces, right? So that means you literally ignore 90% of the Tamil population, and then you try to estimate the pay gap that is largely Colombo or other areas, and there are provinces in which the Tamil population is not even 1%. So that doesn't really capture the real situation. What I wanted to analyze was how does this pay gap took place, particularly after the war. Right, okay, do not get scared. I mean, economists were supposed to use some of these methodologies. I was literally forced into do this methodology. I mean, part of the rigorous training that I was given there. But I'll tell you what the results are. So the results are that yes, Tamils do get paid less than Sinhalese. So to get this result, I had to build that complicated modeling. And I used labor force survey data from Sri Lanka in 2017 because this research was conducted in 2019. So the latest data I had access was 2017. And this is from Department of Census and Statistics. And if you all wonder what exactly these data are, every year Department of Census and Statistics conducted something called labor force survey. So they cover the entire island, they select a population, and then they select a sample, and then from that sample they ask detailed questions about how do they get paid, how much they get paid, what kind of employment you are doing, whether it's formal, informal, are you entitled to EPF, so on and so forth. Right? So those data, they don't publish the entire data set in the website, but if you are a researcher, for any research out there, you can request this full data set from the Department of Census and Statistics and then do a detailed analysis. So this analysis is based on that obtained data, not the ones that is published. Right? So what did I found? One significant finding is that yes, Tamils do get paid differently. How much? So Tamils get paid differently in the sense that they get paid 9% less. How do I explain this? Is let's say randomly pick Sinhalese get paid 100 rupees and a Tamil would pay 91 rupees. Now this leads us to two questions. One, why? One reason is because one would say like, okay, let's say one person has passed O levels, he has O level qualification. There's another person who has A level qualification. There's no way that both of these people are getting the same amount of salary. I mean, general, this is what education economics says. Generally, it's the experience, education, and these things affects the amount of money that you get paid for the kind of job that you do. Right? So it is not a fair comparison if you compare someone with a less experience or less education with someone with more education and more experience. But there's a catch here, particularly in this situation, because when we study ethnic pay gap, particularly in the United States or UK, there you don't see much of a difference in terms of the education that is received between, let's say, mostly the black and white, right? I apologize if the terms are incorrect, politically not correct. But in the case of Sri Lanka, what research suggests is that the youth in conflict affected areas, that is largely the Tamils, they did not have the access to the education. They did not have the access to the formal job market either, which means two things. One, they didn't have proper education, so they don't get O-level, A-level qualification, so they can't get paid based on education, and they didn't have access to the job market either. So for example, we know in Sri Lanka, in Colombo, you might have someone who passed O-level, but still get a job at bank, right? But that person at the end of the day could get paid more than someone who has with a degree. I have seen that. But the Tamil person who is based on north or east wouldn't have that opportunity because they didn't have a chance to get that experience. So the usual pay gap here, even with that education and experience difference, is largely because of because of the conflict, and two, because of the post-conflict development that is very unequal, and that is not very focused on what needed to be done exactly, rather than road building or constructing buildings of. See this again, yes, bunch of numbers, but if you are interested you can go to on my paper. And to actually see, to actually validate my point, why it is important to compare the western province and the rest of the provinces, particularly the northern and eastern province, how people get paid different in these provinces and in western province. You could see the numbers speak for themselves here. Tamil person living outside western provinces, 36% less than Tamil person living in the western province. Now this establishes the fact that obviously in Sri Lanka's GDP, Sri Lanka's entire production of the country, close to 40% of the production happens in western province. Our production is not well dispersed. This means if you want to earn money, you have to come to Colombo or probably Gampaha, or those areas where the production or the services are based. And Tamil people most of the Tamil people don't live in those areas, right? So that's that problem. And that is what it is explained here. So someone who works in Vallavatta, and when you compare with someone who works in Kilinochchi or Jaffna, they would earn much less simply because you are based on that area. And that number is much less when you compare with the Sinhalese. If you compare someone working in Colombo and someone working in Matara, that difference is much less than the difference I mentioned earlier. Right? So I will actually stop there. There's a lot more other things, but I think there's no point loading everyone with too much facts, but the point I believe is established, and I'm happy to take any questions. Yes.
Yeah, Matthew, British High Commission. Thanks for a fascinating presentation. Are you saying that it's not ethnicity alone as a factor that accounts for the disparity in pay, but it's correlated with other factors like geographical location and education?
Yes. Actually, if you look at the final part of the presentation, here. In the final part you could see, this is actually Colombo, but the final point stands for everything itself. Wage difference is due to the difference in endowments, which is only significant component in the wage gap. This is regarding the Colombo, right? So which means even in Colombo, some of the people who might have been migrated from, let's say, from Nuwara or Jaffna, Kilinochchi, they already have less education. Because they have less education, they get paid less. So that is largely the reason for the pay gap. But previous evidence suggests that here there's about 2% that is unexplained. The term unexplained in economic, in this kind of analysis, means that is due to the discrimination. That means, let's say you have A-level qualification, and there's a Sinhalese person and Tamil person, both have A-level qualification, both have done, let's say, math stream, go to the same job interview, but the Sinhalese person get picked 2 times out of 100. So that's what this 2% means. That's actually the ethnicity-based discrimination. But that is also there. This research indicates that that is also there at a little, I mean not very significant, but 2 to 3% is there. I hope that answers the question.
Umesh.
Yeah.
So, really fascinating presentation. Can I just ask you something? So, really fascinating presentation. Thanks for that. I enjoyed listening. I have a question. So, clearly you're denoting that geography matters, right? Ethnicity matters. You started by saying class matters. And I wondered whether, when you were comparing, is it in the formal sector workers versus formal sector workers, and you distinguish between that? Because I didn't see that table very clearly. You see what I'm saying? Did you compare like with like?
Yeah, actually, I had to rush through, the presentation, but here, this model allows to compare between industries, what kind of industries that you are engaged in.
Okay, cool.
So that selection bias is accounted for.
Okay, so it is like apples
It's
and apples
it's
and
everything,
oranges.
but the differences are accounted for.
Did gender matter?
Yes, actually gender I have included, but this was revealed by one of the distinguished professors. What she pointed out was it would be better if I estimate the pay gap by gender, not only ethnicity. For example, how does a female Tamil versus female Sinhalese, male Tamil versus male Sinhalese, which I haven't done. I have taken it all together, but that would give far more precise estimates. That's it. Okay.